Together we are but first coffee. Susie's just our host, but what matters most is we are a team. Together we are all safe here, and so are you. Among friends and mods we are safe. We talk about trauma, break down drama of life, death, happy or sad, even mad. We discuss it all here. Together we will thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Together we fight cults or fight addictions. If not with experience, with love, and we don't judge. Please understand, this is a safe place to land. Please understand, you're not alone. This is a safe place to land. Together we thrive, not just survive. We will dry each other's tears, celebrate big or small wins, and chase away the fears. Because we are but first coffee, and Susie welcomes us all here. Together we are but first coffee, and Susie.
Hey, everybody. It's good to see you. Welcome back. Had to check my mic, make sure my mic was on. I've turned it on and off and on and off. Ugh, sorry about that, guys. This was my fault. I was supposed to add Hockeytown John to my admin list so he could go in the back office, and I completely forgot. I sat here for 30 minutes doing nothing, and then I thought, "Oh, crap." So it says he's pending now, so I guess if he accepts that, I mean, he knows it's coming, so he just has to find it and accept it or whatever, or maybe I just won't have anybody in the back office tonight, but that's okay. So, if you all could just put Q's or C's before your comments, because whether it's John or Mischief or me, whoever it is, I need it to be as easy as I can make it to see those comments and questions, because sometimes that chat really gets to hopping, guys. So anyway, I'm gonna go ahead and check in with the chat just a minute, and then I've got a little intro, and then we've got a guest today. So I'm all excited about that. So anyway, I did put a trigger warning because there is one little section in this talk where we're going to talk about the whole sex thing. So it's nothing too graphic, but I just wanted there to be a little bit of a warning. The rest of it, I don't think it needs a trigger warning. I mean, it might if you're, really triggered by things that have to do with the Mormon church. So, if so, just take care of yourself. That's always the most important thing. You can always come back a different day or watch it in little increments if that helps. Just whatever you need to do. We're always more worried about you than a video. So, anyway, just a quiet peaceful dance. Good to see you. Yeah, I think you were the first one in actually. Uh, yeah. You gonna be waiting? Okay, I'm not sure what this is. Somebody needs to explain the crow. Do we have a crow instead of a crown? Or are you talking about the crown? Might be a crown. If you do see a crown, and I will say this throughout the video, if you happen to see a crown next to your name, just ignore it. Other than it's cute, it actually is something that YouTube has done. I don't have any control over it, and if I can figure out how to do away with it, I'm going to. Um, it ranks, I guess, who is, talking the most in the lives, in the live chat, and then if you click on the crown, it gives you a prompt. It says, to make sure you send a super chat, and I am not about that. I don't ask for anybody to send a super chat. If you want to, they are always appreciated, but I am never gonna request it, and it just really made me mad whenever we saw it on there yesterday that YouTube would, actually put something like that on my channel without me having any control over it, and that was another thing I was supposed to look at and change if I could, and I completely forgot about it. So, yeah, if anybody has a little crown, please ignore the thing that says to please send a super chat because that's not me. That's YouTube. They're just trying to make more money because they get 30% of every dime you send me. So, anyway, yeah, we had to be just a couple minutes late because I was running around. Y'all, I don't know how I did it, but somehow or another, I was trying to add Hockeytown John to my admin list because whenever Mischief can't be there, but somehow or another, I deleted Mischief, and then I put Hockeytown John, and then I deleted him, and then I figured out that I had to do it through StreamYard. It is a mess. I'm not good at this stuff, so I'm hoping that Mischief will take care of it for me, and if not, we'll just, everybody's still. I'm assuming everybody is still moderators, and we will fix it after the show. So I'm not really sure how it's going to go. So, hi, Mayor. Good. Thank you so much for being here. Yeah, it's some goofy YouTube thing that encourages you to super chat, and that is not us. That's not us. So just ignore that. Hey, Darcy's. Good to see you. Oh, anyway, let's see here. Oh, yeah, Hockeytown John is in the chat. I'm hoping that he can eventually get in the back office, but if not tonight, it'll be fine. I'll figure it out and get it working before long. So, thank you. I used to feel bad when I couldn't do it for Reese. Now I feel blessed for not giving her money. Yeah, no, we don't, mm-mm. Y'all, right here is our guest for tonight. She's in the chat right now too. Rocking it out for life. Kim is right in the office. I guess we'll find out if she wants me to call her rocking it out or what she wants me to call her because I just always call her that. So, David, it is good to see you. Poet, it's good to see you too coming in from Kim's channel, it looks like. Yeah. Eileen, good to you too. Good to see you. David was working on his car earlier but needed a break. Well, I am glad you decided to take that break here. Yeah. Mare says her daughter used to work on their cars. Wow. I used to um I used to change my own oil and I can change it flat, but I haven't done it in years, but I used to could. So I guess I probably could. Mare is right. As Susie says, your being here is the most important thing. If I absolutely, had to survive on my, um, what I make on YouTube, then maybe I'd be a little more forceful with it. I'm not against anybody making a living on YouTube as long as they're not, grifting and manipulating people. And I would love to make money at it, but I don't need it, so I guess that's why, like, when I get it, I'm like, "Hey, thanks," but I'm not like, "Oh god, I hope I get enough to pay my rent," so don't ever feel bad if you don't super chat because it really doesn't matter. Okay, hold on just a second. Oh, crap, I need to send him the link? Okay, hold on. Oh, oh, he's in now, never mind. This is gonna be one of those nights where it's just crazy town, so y'all just, be ready for just crazy town, okay? Yeah, isn't YouTube lovely trying to create competition and so yeah, division, only 30%, not 33%. Yeah. They get 45% of all of our, ad revenue and all of our view hours. So, the 30% is actually the less the last the less gougy that they do, right? 45% for everything else. So, yeah, what a ripoff. Yep, they want their pound of flesh. Everybody is sure on that. Yeah, I see you, Town or Hockey Town John. Did you get in here now? I thought I saw you in. Yeah, looks like he's maybe in. So, uh, Joel's here. Good to see you. Yeah, money changes everything, David. Absolutely. Iron Sword, yeah. Whoa. Yeah. F that guy for life. Absolutely. Ugh. Well, somebody's here in my name. That might be John. I'm not sure. I don't know who's here in my name. Mischief is here. I'm so confused. Everybody's here. Nobody's here. Anyway, anyway, yeah, we'll figure it out, right? We will figure it out. So I'm gonna go ahead and get started. I'm gonna read my little intro or whatever. I got my notes here, and then we're gonna invite Kim on and see what she's doing. So if you could give me just a minute, let me just message Mischief real quick. Okay, there we go. All right, that's good. So, oh goodness, y'all, my sinuses are terrible. So anyway, so hello there, and y'all welcome back to But First Coffee with Susie Oberholtz, where we spill the tea, sip some sass, and talk about tough topics while showing each other respect, grace. Oh goodness, I don't know what I just did. Ah, I just need to just like run, right? I don't know what I'm doing. So anyway, we're showing each other respect, grace, and friendship. So if you've heard our little intro song, then you kind of know what the vibe is here. We're just here for honest conversations and wild stories and good old fashioned internet accountability. So grab yourself a drink, coffee, sweet tea, diet coke. We don't care what it is. Water, could be something, an adult beverage. We don't care. It's not a cult. We don't tell you what to drink. So whatever's within reach, and let's get into today's topic, y'all. Because today we are talking about the Mormon church. And before everybody gets their sacred undergarments in a twist, this isn't about hate. It's about facts. And darling, those facts are straight up bananas, y'all. Straight up bananas. I'm going to use some graphics on the screen at one point during this live, but because I want y'all to be able to read along with me. But first, I have a guest, and I want to introduce, and I want to let her tell a little bit about her experience with the Mormon Church. So, everybody, welcome, rocking it out for life, Kim, to this stage. Hi.
Hello, hello. Yes, I am Rio for life, and the Rio stands for Rock It Out. And my name's Kim D. High. And I just, Kim D made sense. Um,
Yeah.
my whole thing with the Rio is that's what I do, is I rock it out every day,
Uh-huh.
every moment. And I've always been this way, but now as I go through this deconstruction, it meant even more. And so that's why
I
I kind of
bet.
took it on as my persona right now, because that
Mhm.
kind of keeps me pushing through.
Yeah.
But I
Well,
was
whatever
raised,
it
my
takes,
dad
I'm all
joined the
for it.
church when I was 2.5 years old after him and my mom got divorced. And
Wow.
I was baptized when I was 9. I was raised in the church, and have been through the temple. It wasn't until 2020 that I
Mhm.
realized it's not true after watching episode season 3, episode 11 of The Aftermath with the JWs.
Oh, wow. Uh-huh.
I was allowed to be friends with certain JWs in my neighborhood, and I never could understand why them, but not other people. And after watching that
Yeah.
episode, it made me realize I was raised in a cult. And so that was what brought me into this Scientology kind of community as kind of like my first exposure. Being here was more kind of like a thing of gratitude because I
Yeah.
have my ex-Mormon community also, but this
Mhm.
kind of holds my heart here.
Yeah, I understand that completely. That's crazy, though. So they would let you talk to the Jehovah Witnesses, but not to just, like, everybody else?
Well, they lived 2 houses down, and I could play in the front yard only with them, and they did go to my
Uh-huh.
school, and
Oh,
when
yeah.
they couldn't go to events, I didn't know why, but I would go to the library with them because it's the
Oh,
only
okay.
time I could talk to them. And my
Wow.
10th birthday, I did a scavenger hunt instead of a birthday party, just so they could come because it wasn't a birthday party. It was a scavenger hunt.
Mhm.
January 30th in
Wow.
Denver, a scavenger hunt.
Oh,
But those
wow.
were the things I did because I wanted them in my life. But if I did anything trying to get
Yeah.
to know people at school, trying to be a member missionary, I'd get turned in and ratted out. And so I
Yeah.
never could understand who made what rules on who I could talk to.
Wow. I find that
So
just fascinating, really. I mean, I guess I hadn't really thought about it, that you wouldn't be allowed to, play with the other kids and stuff. I mean, it makes sense when I think about it. Wow. Well, I've got a few little questions that'll kind of probably bring about a lot of discussion. And I did tell the chat to please put their questions or their comments in the chat and that we would get to those also. So, what exactly was it that made you start questioning the church's teachings? I mean, I know about when it was, but what was it? Was there something that was just like, this isn't right?
I was true believing during my inactivity times. It wasn't I didn't believe. It was I wasn't able to willing to not smoke or drink or have sex or
Mhm.
but I wouldn't drink coffee because coffee was the gateway to not living with God. I could be
Yeah.
forgiven for so many things, but not coffee. And so it's maddening.
They
But it
the
it was
chat
just
excuse me, hold on just a second. The chat is saying, "Can you move closer to your
oh,
computer or whatever?" Yeah. You're a little hard to hear. So,
well, I'll have to speak up a little. It's the earbuds.
yeah, yeah, I can hear you better
Um,
now, so
okay, good.
okay, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh no.
I didn't wanna bother you, but
No, it was more I was the failure. I couldn't
uh-huh.
be everything that it required me to be. And then I would be inactive and never let anybody know that I was Mormon because I didn't want to be a poor reflection on the church. And then guilt
Mhm.
and shame would build up, and I would be pulled back into the community and back in.
Mhm.
And that was kind of the cycle of my adult life
Wow.
until 2020 when
Mhm.
it was what they said. It was he would rather kill himself because he knew he could be with
Mm.
God and be forgiven for that rather than live with this
Wow.
chaos. And I'm like, whoa, it just hit me hard. And it made me start looking for other answers. And I
Yeah.
had more questions. And that led me 5 years later where I can actually share some of those experiences now that some members of my
Yeah.
community saw me go through.
Mhm. Well, that makes a lot of sense. I mean, wow. That'd be just so bizarre. I mean, to basically uproot your life in your, you know, adulthood. I think that I don't know, I just keep thinking that the older that you get, the harder it would be to just change your entire life. Because like, I think about that now, like, if I just, like, changed my whole life, my whole belief system or something, and wow,
Well, it's like I
that's
betrayed myself my whole life,
yeah. Yeah.
but I didn't have a choice. It's what I was
Yeah.
indoctrinated. So it's a
Absolutely.
back and forth figuring that balance.
Yeah. So, was there, like, a particular moment I know you were questioning it and everything, was there, like, a particular moment that said, "I'm done," or was it just
Nope.
a slow
I wish it was a slow process
uh-huh,
of realizing I wasn't wrong, that I didn't do anything wrong. I
yeah,
did everything I was expected to do. The data I had was false, not me.
yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So how did your family and your friends all react to that? I mean, I know that they say that the Mormons do shunning. Did they shun you, or, have you still got your family and friends? And
I'm lucky enough that my dad, this happened after the divorce. So my mother and her family, not Mormon. So
oh,
I
yeah.
have a whole community that tried my whole life to get me to see what it was.
Wow.
And so, but I, would hold true to my convictions and explain
Well,
everything to
yeah.
them. And oh yeah. And then I have my Mormon family. And
Mhm.
yes, absolutely shunning.
Mm.
A simple thing I could say is when I was 19, I had been inactive and I had alcohol, and
Mhm.
I innocently asked my younger brother, who was 15, if he wanted some, and my 15-year-old
Oh.
year old cousin. Now, that's kind of a normal, the drinking age was 18 then, it wasn't a whole
Yeah.
different viewpoint.
Oh, yeah.
and
I
and
get it.
but it's a common thing in a lot of communities. But me doing that, my brother took it. It wasn't his first alcohol. The cousin said no, but the cousin went and told his parents. And from that day on, I was never allowed
Mhm.
alone with children, even to this day, because of that
Oh my
one choice.
goodness.
Never allowed.
Oh my goodness. Like you were
So,
some
do you
kind
get
of
shunned?
yeah.
You get shunned in the weirdest ways, where you're
Yeah,
still part
that's
of them, but you're not allowed certain things.
yeah. I think that would almost be worse, 'cause
It
it's
is.
like they're saying you're dirty or something, you know?
I went
Like
home
if they
every
shunned you
Thanksgiving,
like if it was
and
they
I was,
shunned you completely, you could just be like, they
yeah.
okay, I left, whatever, but if they're shunning you while you're still in, that's awful. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
it's maddening to be invited
Yeah.
to events and now to find out, and this was just this past week, that my siblings and they were all told that my presence at these family events was their gift to me. Here I'm trying to earn their love and respect, and I find out the
Yeah.
whole time I'm being gaslit for decades behind my back.
Oh, wow.
And it's all part of
Mm.
this culture. It is so part of being a strange and
Yeah.
peculiar people, being the one true church.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's amazing how many churches think they're the one true church because just about all of them really do. I mean, some are worse than others, but some I see John got in. Okay. So, are there any teachings or practices that you still kinda hang on to today that you, like, hang on to purposely, or do you just kind of find yourself hanging on to them and you're like, "Ugh," you know?
I make butter from scratch almost every morning. I do almost
Yeah?
everything with, I was a child in the 70s and was
Uh-huh.
raised with food storage, a year's supply
Yeah.
of food for every member of our family. And we lived it. We used TVP in our hamburger, soy burgers. I grew up with them.
Mhm.
I, uh, making your own, grinding your own wheat from, milling,
Yeah.
all, gardening, all of the whole
Yeah. Yeah, I don't
process.
go that far.
It's hard to not kind of be that prepper. It's
Yeah.
hard to say I can trust the environment and that I'm going to have access to these things rather than my brain telling me I've got to be prepared for everything, the end. And at the same time, being taught the law of consecration to be prepared to give it all to the church and let the church take care of you. So
Mhm.
it, it's hard not to have that utopian thought process. I
Yeah.
live in that. I want the whole world to get along in a barter system, and that's not the
Yeah.
world we live in.
Yeah. There is a whole movement for that kind of thing, though. I mean, I was even in a little bit not a religion, but in the whole, homesteading community where they do all I was going crazy for a couple of years there and started making, as much stuff homemade as I could, not to the point of doing my own wheat and everything, but, doing a lot of canning and putting things up in the freezer and just, oh, Hockeytown John's he's back in. We're playing, we're just trying to get ready. We're trying to figure this out tonight. But, yeah, I make my own butter and I make, spaghetti sauce and, um Oh, pasta or not pasta. I am trying to learn how to make pasta. I haven't done it
For
yet,
me,
but I am.
tipping, I was raised you don't give
Yeah.
anyone more than you give the church, and you give the church 10%.
Yeah.
So I would never tip anyone more than
Oh,
10%.
really?
And
Yeah.
so, and also I didn't go out to eat much. I wasn't,
Yeah.
I did some pull tabs and won $200 and walked out of the bar. And my friend said, "What'd you tip?" I said, "What? You're supposed to tip on that?" So I had to go back to the bar to give a tip because I didn't know you're supposed to do that. And
Oh,
you would think of
wow.
it. I mean, how am I supposed to know you're supposed to tip in certain gambling situations when you don't normally gamble?
Mhm. Mhm. Wow. I'm just like, I could probably sit and talk to you for hours because there's just so
It's just a
much.
different language. Everything, that's the
Yeah.
biggest problem. It's all a different language.
Yeah.
And my first thoughts I can't trust because they're indoctrinated. I have to have a second thought. And so that
Yeah.
is the hardest thing. I am that deeply indoctrinated that I can't trust my first thoughts yet because they are
Mm.
still, what can I do for someone else? What can I,
Yeah.
it's not about me yet.
Mhm. That
It's
is
becoming
crazy.
it.
That is crazy. Yeah. So, what can you tell us about the sacred undergarments? What are your
Oh, what
feelings
can I
about them
tell you?
today?
What I can tell you about them is you wear them basically 24/7, with the exception of like working out and bathing.
Mhm.
I believe you can take them off for sex. I never did. Um, Now they've modified them for,
Mhm.
I think it's the second time. It's basically ending up like it's a t-shirt. So you got porn shoulders that you can have now. So a lot of older
Yeah.
people like me are not happy about some of these changes in certain ways
Yeah.
because it's
Yeah.
not supposed to change, but thrilled about it for what it gives to these younger. They don't have
Yeah.
to have so much of the traumas
Yeah.
of the intense. It lessens a little of the purity culture.
Yeah.
Not much, but a little. Um,
Yeah.
um, it's you promise to wear them. There's emblems on them that you cut out and burn if the
Mhm.
garments are getting old and worn. You only get
Mhm.
them over at the temple.
Uh-huh.
There's you keep them white. It's
So when do you start wearing those? Like, at what age or what's the
normally
criteria
you start
or
wearing
whatever?
them when you go first or when young men go to the on their mission. They get their endowment before they go, and that is when you
Mhm.
start wearing your garments when you get your endowment.
Uh-huh.
And it's the first step that you go through before you go get sealed and do all these other ordinances.
Yeah.
Um,
Okay.
for women, it's normally just before you get married or go on your mission. They've lowered ages
Yeah.
now, so at 18, a lot of these young
Mhm.
men, and 19 for the young women. I
Wow.
know people that have gotten married at 15, 16, so you start wearing garments a lot earlier. And that
Yeah.
is very much a thing. Um,
Wow.
One piece or two piece, it's you wear your actual underclothing like a bra on top of them. They are the
That's
closest
what I
thing to your
read.
body.
Yeah, that those are the closest thing to your body. Yeah.
And you're not to alter them or tuck them in so you can wear more exposing clothes.
Yeah. It
Um,
just seems like it'd be so hot. Just another layer of which I guess you
Another
just get
layer.
used to it.
Well, and it's a signal. You know if
Yeah.
someone's gone through the temple, so there's different things you watch for and different things
Mhm.
you keep them on track with in
Yeah.
weird ways.
Yeah. I get that. I get that. So, did you feel that if you had any questions about any of the teachings or anything while you were still in, did you feel that you got answers to those or were they like just blowing you off?
No, I got you need to your doubts, search,
Yeah.
ponder, and pray. Um, have you fasted and prayed about it? A lot of
Mm.
scripture study, a lot of research. I learned to pray unceasingly. Every thought was an utterance to God. That was my
Yeah.
goal for 1 year, and when you think about that,
Wow.
every single thought was an utterance to God,
That is
and I
so
trained myself to do that, and
yeah.
so, yeah, but no real answers. I would be told it's all
Mhm.
there, but I would have to find it,
Yeah.
and and it was all there. A lot of things were now that the internet's there, there were gospel essays and different ways you could
Mhm.
find things.
Yeah.
But before the internet, no, I and I wouldn't read literature anyways if I saw it.
Mhm.
So I,
Hmm.
we just don't go there.
So,
You
did the
put things on
internet
the
play
shelf until the
Yeah.
shelf breaks.
Yeah. That's a good analogy, yes. So, did the internet play any role in your leaving? I mean, did you look stuff up on the internet that made you, like, realize that it just wasn't for you, that things weren't true or, whatever?
The biggest thing I did with the internet was kind of looking at different data and data
Mhm.
sources as far as membership numbers, the money of the church, taking things I had learned from Mormon stories and John Dehlin, Kara Burrell, all these different content creators and the research and education they had. They did the work and had all of the links and things where they got the data.
Yeah.
So it was kind of more corroborating of my own research. You know, they've got about 16 million members, and right now I'm still one of them on record. And so it's you got weird feelings about that, but the only way
Yeah.
you get the lawyer at Quit Mormon to do it for you, or you get excommunicated.
Well,
But I've heard getting if you have to have problems getting out, you're probably in a cult. And
yeah. Yeah, they say that the difference between a religion and a cult is what happens when you try to leave.
but
So
the biggest thing was that, and then finding out that they've got close to $300 billion, and they're one of
wow.
the richest churches
Mhm.
in America, and mind-boggling all the
Mhm.
things they put, what they've done with my money, with my tithing,
Yeah.
and what they don't
Yeah.
do for
Yeah.
the parishioners, for the membership.
Mhm. Yeah. I get it. I
Learning
get
about
it.
the free labor, how the people that clean the churches and things like that, where
Mhm.
and no security, different things that it would be so easy for them to do. The
Mm.
internet's how I found out about the hotline. They have a hotline for SA, but
Oh,
all the
yeah?
hotline is for the lawyers to tell them if they need to do anything or not.
Yeah.
It's really not a hotline.
Yeah,
It's
see,
to
they have
protect
the
the
same kind of
church.
thing for the Jehovah Witnesses, that you call this number, but then the number is basically telling you to not do anything, you know?
Hmm.
So, they've put this number up, which makes them look like they're legit, that they're really trying to do a good thing, but at the same time, it doesn't do anything. So
It's been more that slow process for me versus internet searches. The
mhm.
internet was just kind of my own confirmation of what I was seeing.
Yeah.
And I'm 60 years old. I, this has been over 50 years of my life.
Yeah.
It was everything to me.
Yeah. See,
So
I'll
it's
soon
been a
be
lot.
59. I'll soon be 50 well, in a week, I'll be 59, and I'm just sitting here thinking at how it would because we're basically the same age, so I'm thinking about how would I feel if I had just left just left everything that I knew. I left my church, it was just a Baptist church, but I left my church, it's been 20 years ago now, and I've not been back. We went to a Methodist church a few times, but to be honest, the Baptist church that I was in messed me up. I mean, there wasn't like any kind of abuse, but just a lot of things that went on. It really messed me up, and I'm just so distrustful of churches in general now. I have faith in God. I have not lost my faith in God. I've lost my faith in churches, if
Hmm.
that makes any
The,
sense.
the organized part
So,
of it.
yeah, the organized part of it. So
So
that
we
really
like
gets
the
to me.
people part of it.
I love the people. I mean, I saw several of I just had 2 cousins die on the same day last week, and, um, so one of the funerals was yesterday, and I saw the preacher at the church that I used to go to. I saw several of the people that go to that church that I miss them. I saw several of my family members that I don't go to church with them anymore because our family was like a lifelong, members of this church, generation after generation, and the whole bit. And so it's so strange. I I don't know. I'm just amazed at you. To be perfectly honest, I am just absolutely amazed for
And I
you
want to
having the
say there is a
strength to
difference
do
between
it.
a Utah Mormon and mission field Mormons. There are
Yeah.
differences between them. A lot of the people who live in Utah, they are so much more aware of the politics and they have so much more government and personal
Mhm.
involvement with members in other parts of their life. If
Mhm.
you live in a town that's 95% Mormon, it's a huge part of the
Yeah.
infrastructure. When you
Oh,
live in
yeah.
Denver, Colorado, or you live up here in Hibbing, Minnesota, and there's 6 Mormons on record, it's people don't even know what they are. So
Yeah.
healing in a place where
Yeah.
they don't even know is a blessing because I can just be
Mhm.
me. But there is a
Yeah.
big difference between a lot of the teachings even. And there, the expectations are I think a
Really.
lot more when you live in Utah. You're under a whole different microscope because you're under the watchful eye of people who know. I grew
Mhm.
up in the watchful eye of people who didn't know.
Yeah.
I was trying to
Yeah.
be an example to people who didn't know, while a lot of the members in the more populated areas were trying to live up to a known expectation. And
Mhm.
so I have a lot
I
of different respect for people that grew up and live in Utah because it's a
Oh,
different,
yeah.
I think it's more intense. Think of your
I can
news that
imagine
you
that it
get,
would be.
your newspaper,
Yeah.
everything has a
Yeah,
different
everything would.
twist to it.
Yeah, absolutely. So many of the jobs and everything would be, Mormon owned, and I mean,
When they leave
the
the church,
teachers,
when they
would
live
be.
in environments like that, it's a lot different. You know, I
Yeah.
guess the similar I could say is like for what I've learned with Scientology, they've got public and they've got staff and they got Sea Org. Well,
Mhm.
to me, you got mission and field, you got Utah, and you got you've got so it's all kind of similar but
Yeah.
different.
Yeah, it is so weird. If you think about it, so many of the different religions slash, cults, whatever that we look into, they are ran and operated. It's like there's a little book that tells them what to do, and they all have their own little tweaks.
It's called
But
the
it is.
handbook, and yes, there is a book that tells them exactly what to do.
Yeah.
And not
Oh,
everybody has access to seeing it.
yeah. Mm. So, what has your healing or rebuilding process looked like? I mean, I know that you're not around tons of Mormon people, but still, you've got a rebuilding and a healing process within yourself, even. So, I just wondered what that looks like. Was it hard for you? Did you like think, oh, I'm going to go back? I mean, the whole bit. Just what does that kind of
I
look
have
like?
felt the pull as recently as
Hmm.
about a year ago. And then
Wow.
I discovered that everything I was thinking about that was so joyful ended up being all the events I had been in charge of and all the things I brought to my calling or I brought to something. So it
Yeah.
was like, okay, I was the spark there. I can do that
Yeah.
somewhere else.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
just started, I joined a club, Iron Range Women of Today. And so
Hmm.
I'm starting just this month to do some fun things with that. I'm I'm
Wow.
like an emerging identity. I'm like this kid with
Yeah.
experience and a little wisdom.
Yeah.
I'm on disability as a result of all of this because I'm a vulnerable person in certain ways. I'm not naive, I'm just not experienced.
Mhm.
And so
Mhm.
working at the movie theater with teenagers has been great. It's helped me.
Oh,
It's about
yeah.
every single thing I've done in the past 5 years has been directed by a therapist.
Mhm.
And even this, doing YouTube, all of it's been
Mhm.
directed therapy. That the Apple iPhone, because of my
Yeah.
sessions, started giving her, that was just in the room, it
Mhm.
started popping up anti Mormon videos on her TikTok. And
Oh,
so
wow.
she was getting different information and figured out, oh, yeah, have you ever thought about this? Oh, wait, no.
Yeah.
So technology,
Mm.
AI, all these things have a lot of, I don't know, scary but intriguing kind of things to me happening. I wouldn't be where I am if it weren't for the technology aspect.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's not a confidence factor, it's a language barrier
Mhm.
that I have where I just don't feel I connect or communicate with the world.
Well, look at Scientology, they have their own language, and so even, I hate to use her as an example, but like Reese, who is, fairly, new at being out
Hmm.
completely, um, she would be whenever I was watching her even, like, a year ago, she would be trying to talk, and she'd have to really stop and kinda grapple with what the word what the I can't remember because one time she called it the human word or something, and I'm like, "You're human," but it's like she thought she's an
It's
alien or
funny, that's
something,
what I'll call it too when I don't know. I want to know the
Yeah,
human word. I
yeah,
tried using normal word, but that didn't work. But yeah, it's
yeah,
funny. I will use it. What's the human word?
yeah, yeah. It's just so bizarre. So I know that we talked about that you still do things like, you tend to wanna, gather up food and that kind of thing, make your own butter, that kind of stuff, but are there any of the actual practices, beliefs through the Mormons that you still are, hanging to or
I don't miss general conference twice a year.
Uh-huh.
Even the thought of not watching or reading it feels a discomfort in me because that's where you're getting the prophet and the
Yeah.
leaders, and this is where you're getting. And I went to general conference once. I camped out overnight and we sang songs and did all kinds of cool stuff and little skits in the sidewalk, and I got to be there and in that same room as the prophet. And so it was,
Wow.
it's those feelings that
Yeah.
um, I can't replace that with anything yet. Right
Yeah.
now, that's all I've had to go make me spark. And
Yeah.
then I got to find the other things to.
Yeah. I understand that.
This
That makes
past year,
sense.
although I didn't watch it other than the recaps that the people watched it and did a recap. So
Mhm.
through 3 or 4 content creators, I watched it that way. And so
Mm.
that was my progress. I didn't actually watch the whole thing myself.
Yeah. So have you joined another, religion or belief system or anything since you've left there, or have you, like, visited other churches or anything?
I'm semi active at a little Nashwauk Alliance church, and it's a lot of the great people I knew growing up. It's a small town. They do amazing, wonderful things within the community, and it's a safe place. They know
Yeah.
my situation. They know I don't believe in sin. They know that I don't believe a lot of the same things, but I
Mhm.
sing and I'll worship and I will be present with my
Yeah.
community. And
Yeah.
I'm grateful that I can have that. So there's no real
That's
pressure for
beautiful.
me to become a part of it. I already am.
Yeah. Yeah. That's actually beautiful that they are so accepting of that because I've always said, and I feel bad about it sometimes and sometimes I don't, that some Christians will chase more people away from Christ, and God and everything than what they'll bring to them. And
Hmm.
so this is beautiful. I think that this place that you're going is allowing you to go at your pace and do what you're comfortable
And
with.
they
And
stream online. We actually did
yeah,
drive-in style during COVID, where you drove to the church
yeah,
and they did it through the FM radio. And
yeah.
so now they do
That
the
the church
streaming
that
on
I
YouTube. So it's kind
The
of
church
cool.
that I used to go to did that, and we live fairly close to the church that I had attended for most of my life, and it was really strange because during COVID, when they would be doing their services, they would they'd pull up just like a drive-in in their cars, and everybody would go through their FM radio, and I could hear them from here, like, I could hear them on their whatever, their, PA system thing, I could hear it. It was just the most weird thing to be sitting here, and if I was outside, I could hear the church that I won't go to having service. It was just
it
odd.
If anything, I replaced a lot of that when it was in 2020 also that I discovered YouTube. I only knew YouTube as something I would load pictures up to link to for auctions in a
Yeah.
website. And when I Google for something I wanted to do, there would be
Yeah.
videos. I had zero idea of this live environment
Yeah.
until 2020. And
Wow.
so I'd be watching a video and I'd be commenting on the episode, and nobody would be talking about the episode. They'd all be chatting like the chat does. And I would get so frustrated and so confused, and people would get so mad at me. And,
Aw.
I had to learn how to read the room. Then I started doing just comments. And because then I could trust the
Yeah.
fact that here, I'm going to make my comment. But think about it, when you didn't even know
Yeah.
this existed 5 years
Yeah,
ago.
I didn't know it did either. I didn't when I first came over to YouTube, I didn't either. Because what I would do, I've had, like, a YouTube, because anybody that has if they watch videos, they have a channel, they just don't necessarily put content up. But so
Hmm.
anyway, so I've had a channel for, like, 14 years or something. Never put up any content and just till the last, year and a half or so. But, I would come over the first what I signed up for was that, I had a new program whenever I had the newspaper, and we had a new program, and there was a video on YouTube that would teach me how to use that program, and so that's when I got on YouTube, and so that's all I knew. I knew that you could go watch things. I didn't know you could
Yeah.
talk and that
I
you
didn't
could,
think about how it got there.
yeah,
No
I
idea
didn't
how it got
either.
there.
And, like, I would watch people's videos, like, one of the first ones that I watched that was really interactive was Aaron Smith-Levin. And, because a lot of them just did videos that I watched, they didn't do lives. But Aaron, he does lives, and so I would be on the replay, what I now know is a replay. Didn't know then, I just thought it
Premieres. Premieres confused me too, but yes, replay.
Yeah. So, anyway, I would be on the replay, and I would be watching him, and he'd be talking to people, and I'm like, "Who is he talking to? I don't understand this," you know?
For me, it was
Does he have
Andrew
a
Gold.
studio audience, you know?
Yeah, it was Andrew Gold and Apostate Alex. And all I
Yeah.
wanted to do was tell my story 5 years ago.
Mhm.
And so I was in contact with both of them through an anonymous person named Goldie. And
Mhm.
I have my own interesting background story of all of that I've never shared,
Yeah.
which is, yeah, it's old news is what I consider it. But it was all part of
Yeah.
my learning experience. I could have gotten caught up in something I would have not been prepared for if I
Yeah.
hadn't have been cautious, and if I
Mhm.
hadn't have been, I made a few mistakes here and there, but we all do. Um,
Yeah.
but yeah, all I wanted to do was tell my story, and I couldn't afford the microphone, and I didn't have the internet connection Andrew Gold needed, or I would have been on his show 5 years ago. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
instead,
Yeah.
I'm doing it
Here you
this way and
are.
having the time of my life. So,
Yeah.
but
Oh, goodness. So what would you say to someone that's quietly questioning the church, but they're afraid to leave?
I'm not trying to make anybody leave. And
Mhm.
if they
No, I
were
know
in
that.
that position, um, I would probably direct them to 3 or 4 different content creators and a few
Mhm.
episodes, or I'd tell them to go to my important episodes or interesting episode playlist where I put my stuff and say,
Mhm.
pick and choose. There's different, you know,
Yeah.
because it might be the Scientology or the JW or the who knows what it's going to be
Mhm.
to make their connections happen. It
Yeah.
might not be
Absolutely.
Mormon stuff. So
Yeah,
it's more
absolutely.
just what do you want out of your life? Is it giving it
Mhm.
to you? Um,
Yeah. I think that's a
that's
great way to go
basically
about
it.
it, to have them educate themselves and it not be that you're telling them what to do, it's that they're coming to their own decisions. You
I'm
can
going to
just show
support
them kind
them.
of places to go. Yeah.
I'm going to support them and answer questions honestly.
Yeah.
Um, but like you would an 8-year-old, you would be appropriate. You would
Yeah.
know they don't have the emotional maturity yet
Mhm.
because these religion infantilize, especially women. And so you
Mhm.
don't have what you need at the time. I didn't
Mhm.
5 years ago at all. You
Yeah.
gotta, there's different things you process through.
Yeah. Well, I know
But it's
just me
hard. I
whenever I
don't know
left
what
my
I would
church.
do.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's not a bad thing to say. That's just being honest. I think that it would matter, each individual person, what your connection was with the person or not, how they presented themselves to you. If Because it would depend on what they know, what their level of figuring it out is. They might be just barely figuring out, or they might just be hanging on by a thread ready to leave, and they're just needing that little push to be like, "It's okay." So it would be by case, I think. So
I
I
think it's more
understand
important
that.
to be there when they land. You gotta be a
Yeah.
soft spot when they
Yeah.
land, whenever, and you don't know when that'll be. So,
Mhm.
mm,
Hmm. Wow. So I think what I'm going to do now, if it's okay with you, if I've got a few things that I want to put up on the
oh,
screen and
yes.
I'll read, and if it brings up something that we want to talk about, then we'll do that. I've got actually 2 rounds of it. I've got you can only put so many things at a time. So I'm going to do those and then get rid of those and then do some more. Cause I was just like, oh, wow, this is cool. This is cool. I'm like a research nerd. I just love it.
Oh, fun.
So anyway, I'm gonna just pop some stuff up. It'll move our pictures over to the side. So don't be alarmed if everything shifts. So the first one that I have is called Wait, They Believe What? Yeah. So we're gonna start with some beliefs, and it says, let's start with the beliefs, because if you thought that it was just a clean living, no cussing kind of church, buckle up. So first off, God lives near a star called, is it Kolob?
Collab. Mhm.
Kolob? Yeah. That's not science, or that's not sci-fi. That's Mormon
Mhm.
scripture.
Mhm.
Men, just men, not women, can earn their way to godhood and get their own planet after they die. Planet ownership.
And that's an
So,
interesting one because we get the planet too, but it's not in this life because polygamy has been suspended, but we will be
uh-huh.
practiced in the next life. So
Oh, okay.
you would be have one man with all of his wives to populate their planet. But then it was
Okay.
6 months after my shelf broke, all over the news, all this stuff. They church claimed they never taught it, that they never taught that principle. It's like, you've got to
How
be kidding
weird.
me. It's the only thing that kept
Yeah.
me in was to be a
Wow.
mother of spirit children. So no, that one was
Yeah.
a powerful one.
Yeah. Absolutely. It says the founder, Joseph Smith. He claimed he translated golden plates using magic rocks in a hat, like a Pioneer iPad.
And that's interesting because
Yeah.
I was taught, and the scriptures was the Urim and Thummim, was the
Mhm.
breastplate and these glasses that were used, and he visually translated them,
Mhm.
and the plates were right there. My
Hmm.
daughter had drawn pictures when she was younger, and I didn't know about this, but she was taught about the rock and the hat. I didn't know about that until about 4 years ago. And
Wow.
so
So
that
kinda
really
depends.
surprised me. And that they have
Yeah.
the rock.
Yeah.
They have it in a
Wow.
vault. They have it, yeah.
Wow. It
But
says,
yeah, like an
"Oh, and he."
iPad.
Yeah, like an iPad.
The
It says,
words
"Oh,
just
in
appeared in the
heaven."
hat.
Yeah. It's got secret passwords, handshakes, robes, and it says, "Like a celestial escape room." So heaven
Yes.
has secret pass. Wow, that is
And those are
wow.
mainly Masonic. And the interesting thing about that is during part of my inactive time, I was up here in Minnesota, and my step grandfather was a Mason. And so I,
Mhm.
because of being family, was able to join Job's Daughters, which is the
Mhm.
youth female auxiliary of the Masons. And my grandmother was in Eastern Star for 35 years, 40 years. We had
Yeah.
dances with the D Malay, and like I said, it's all culty. But that's where Joseph Smith got those things. So later,
Wow.
when I went through the temple, it all felt natural to me. I didn't
Mhm.
notice anything funky or weird. And later to find out who took it from them still didn't phase me because it seemed natural. But
Wow.
yes, and you get a new name when you're in the temple. It's supposed to
Yeah.
be given by God, and you, as a woman, you don't tell anybody except your husband, because that's what he uses to rise you from the dead.
Hmm.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Wow.
And it's not anything fancy. Everyone across the world gets the same name. It's all based on the date, and that was kind of devastating
Yeah, I
um,
remember hearing that. I
to
actually
find
remember
out
hearing
that
that.
my name wasn't anything special after all. And I still don't really
Wow.
say it out loud, or that's another thing I hold on to. I think I've only
Oh,
said it
yeah?
out loud like twice in general conversation, and
Yeah.
because it's that sacred, even though it's
I
not in
heard
my name.
about that on that Cults to Consciousness on
Sharice
that
is
one.
amazing.
Yeah, she is
Hmm.
something, and she's something. So
Yeah.
here's another one. It says, and yes, Jesus apparently stopped by America after the resurrection, just popped in to say hi.
Well, actually, it was before the. Well, let's see. He resurrected 3 days. It was the 3 days before he was resurrected. Was when his
Oh, wow.
translated body was there, and then that's why
Mhm.
he was only there for 3 days. See, then
Oh,
he was
okay.
resurrected. So close. It's,
Yeah.
right in the timeline. But that's,
Yeah.
yes, and that's where the Book
So
of
here's
Mormon came from.
wow. It says, well, that's not the one I was trying to get. Hold on. I'm sorry. I've added the wrong one. The Mormon belief Jesus visited America. It says, according to the Book of Mormon, after Jesus was resurrected in Jerusalem, he took a divine road trip, not to Rome or Athens, but across the ocean to the ancient Americas. That's right. Jesus, post crucifixion and resurrection, made a pit stop in the New World to preach to the ancestors of Native Americans. This div
Hmm.
or this visit is described in 3 is it N Nephi?
Nephi.
I'm not good Nephi, okay. One of the books in the Book of Mormon, and the story says, Jesus appeared to a group called the Nephites?
Nephites.
Nephites. See,
Knee,
I'm gonna
like your
get it
knee.
wrong every some. Yeah.
It's the Nephites.
It's a righteous civilization descended from the prophet named Lehi. Okay, he taught them the beatitudes, performed miracles, and even let them feel the nail prints on his hands and feet, same as he did with the apostles in Jerusalem. He organized his church there, appointed 12 disciples, and said that he was bringing the gospel of all God's children. Oh, I can't read that. Not just a something. It's behind my little screen thing. Oh, so the Mormon theology, Jesus didn't just stick around, right? He expanded his ministry across the globe. So,
And that came from
wow.
like the Bible verse where he has sheep in other folds.
Uh-huh.
And there's a scripture verse, and that's the one that we've used. That's what he was talking about.
Okay. Okay. So, now we're going to look at this one that says money, honey. So, I'm trying to keep some of these removed as I go. And it's going to irritate me cuz the very bottom one's going to be messed up by my comments that are on the stage, but I might have to turn that off for a minute. So, anyway, it says, let's talk about money because behind every humble servant of the Lord is a very well funded spreadsheet. Oh, John would like the spreadsheet theory. Hockeytown John and Mayor are spreadsheet people. In 2019, we found out the church had stashed away a secret investment fund worth over $100 billion. Yep, with a B. Wow.
Now
It's
it's almost
managed
300 billion.
wow, isn't that something? It's managed by Ensign Peak Advisors and was funded with tithing money, your rent money, and your grocery money. And what they do with it, and what do they do with it? Okay. Oh, just they just built a 2 million or a $2 billion shopping mall, invested in fossil fuels and pharma, and made some shady trades. In 2023, the SEC fined them 5 billion or $5 million, sorry, for using fake shell companies to hide their wealth. I'm going to turn this off for just a second so I can see where I'm at. Okay. Meanwhile, members were told to tithe before paying their bills. Some go without food to stay worthy. And guess what? The church won't show members any financial records, none. zero transparency, and they'll audit your soul for drinking a green tea.
And it's amazing how many
Wow.
people, even after that happened just 2 years ago, they still, well, we're Christ, they're going to need the money. It does
Mm,
not phase them at all.
yeah.
True believing members, it doesn't phase them. And it should.
Yeah.
It should. And it doesn't.
Wow. So this one is tithing before you pay your bills.
Mhm.
I was having fun with all my little graphics.
Well, and I paid off of gross, not net, in for income.
Oh, wow. Yeah. Mm. So it says in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, LDS, or Mormon church, members are taught to give 10% of their income to the church as a tithe and not just 10% of what's left after expenses, but 10% right off the top. This means even if a member is struggling financially, they're still expected to pay tithing before rent, groceries, or other basic needs. It's often framed as a test of faith with the promise that God will bless them for their obedience. Leaders have taught that being a full tithe payer is essential to enter the temple. And some have even said that paying tithing instead of buying food is a righteous sacrifice. And it says, example quote, pay your tithing, even if it means that you can't pay for water or electricity. The Lord will provide. From a talk often cited by LDS general authorities. Wow. That
And there
is
is a
just,
really good welfare system.
uh huh.
I had a period of time when my ex-husband wasn't paying child support. And I had to take him to court. I had no way to do anything
Mm,
pretty much. All my money went to the legal expenses. And I was on church welfare for 6 months. I didn't have to buy feminine product, broom, mop. You get a list,
wow.
there's a cookbook they give you too, and everything was provided for me. But I still had to keep
Wow.
paying my tithing.
Yeah. Wow.
And of course, you have to go talk to Bishop and the Relief Society president and get if there's a different stigma to it.
Mm
Um,
hmm.
you're getting help.
Wow. So, yeah. This one is let's talk about sacred underwear. It says, what are they? In the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints, LDS, sacred undergarments are plain, white, modest underwear worn by adult members who have been through the temple ceremony called the endowment. It's so small, I'm having a hard time reading it, but I'll get it. They're often referred to informally as garments of the holy priesthood or just garments. These are not magic, but they are considered deeply symbolic, a constant reminder of the covenants made with God in the temple, including promises of faith, obedience, and personal holiness.
You promise to give everything in the temple,
Mhm.
even your own. There was one point in time prior to 1990 where you had symbols where you'd have to, like, you give your own life,
Oh,
wash
wow.
your bowels. There's different hand motions that you would do in the temple that have been changed because
Yeah.
of that. But
Wow.
yeah, you do promise so much.
Wow. Here's some more on the sacred undies. It says, who wears them? Only worthy, endowed adult members wear them. This usually happens after a temple endowment, which many receive before a mission, before marriage, or as a personal spiritual milestone. Both men and women wear them. When are they worn? They are meant to be worn day and night beneath regular clothing. Members are encouraged to wear them as consistently as possible, removing them only for bathing, intimacy, or sports or activities that require special attire is needed. And then, okay, I'm going to shut this off for just a second again so I can read this. It says, are they what does it say?
Secret,
Are
I
they
think it
secret?
says.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it says secret. Not exactly, they're considered sacred, not secret. Mormons often won't talk about them in detail
Mhm.
publicly out of reverence. but the general idea is wildly known. Ex members sometimes describe discomfort, shame, or anxiety around the garments, especially when they choose to stop wearing them. Wow. Wow, that's
I guess
crazy.
that'd be the other thing. I still dress modestly. When I
Yeah.
do my cruises and different things, that's my playground where I'm testing and buying different things.
Yeah.
But yeah, I still dress very modestly as a result.
Huh. Okay, it's gonna take me just a second. I'm gonna go and, grab the other things that I wanna show on here. So it'll just be just a minute while I grab some. Ugh, so we can still talk and everything. I just have to figure this out. Okay, so I need oh, no, 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 no. Here, this one. Whoops, that's not what I wanted to do. Take that off. I'm sorry. Oh, I know how to do it. Hold on a second. Much easier if I just use my brain. Okay. Ugh. John's probably like, "This girl don't know what the heck she's doing." Here we go. I'll just do them like
Oh, it could be something you've done a million times, and one day it just doesn't want to work.
yeah, absolutely. So hormones over faith. Now this is gonna get into the part where I gave the little bit of a trigger warning because we are gonna talk a little bit about sex. Or we can say it now, sex. In Mormonism, chastity before marriage is considered a sacred commandment. Members of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter day Saints are taught that sexual relations are reserved for marriage between a man and a woman, and any sexual activity outside of that, including touching, pornography, or even making out in some teachings, is viewed as serious sin. The law of chastity is seen as a test of purity, obedience, and spiritual strength. Breaking it can result in restricted temple access or church discipline. For faithful Mormons, here we go. I can't talk again. For faithful Mormons, having sex for marriage isn't just about morality, it's about honoring God and both the body and spirit. So now let's see here. Hold on. I wish they would let us put more in here, to present because it's just not logical that we're not going to have more than a few. So, anyway, so this one is faith versus versus flesh. I named it Mormon kinks. So it says, now this is the part, y'all. I might get a little embarrassed. Okay, these are some of the things that they say that a lot of Mormons do, like premaritally or something, so that it's kind of
Mhm.
a like a loophole. Okay, so one of them is soaking. The infamous Mormon workaround: one person inserts, but there is no movement at all. It says, if we don't thrust, we don't break the law of chastity. So, isn't that embarrassing? But have you heard of that? I mean, is that just, you
I
know,
haven't heard of it outside of Utah.
okay.
My
Okay.
sister and family members that live in Utah have heard of some of these. No,
Yeah.
didn't hear of it outside, but so
Yeah. But it is interesting. This
mhm.
one I think is funny. This one I had to laugh about, y'all. And it's called jump pumping. A friend, yes, a third person jumps on the bed to create motion during soaking. So technically they aren't actually doing it. She or he is the third person is
Talk
moving the
about an
bed, not the
interesting
two.
threesome.
Yeah, that's interesting. I'm like, never mind. I don't think so.
This
Uh,
next one I had heard of.
so outer course, staying outside the clothes and convincing yourself that if there's fabric in between, that it's holy. I can understand that. Hey, people that aren't Mormons do that. I mean, a lot of kids in the moment, well, that's how they start out a lot. So, also number 4 is just the tip, partially inserting. Yeah. Quickly stopped. A gamble. Yeah. That would be a
See,
gamble on
I
who
never would have
making
gotten that
sure
far because I wouldn't have taken my clothes off. See, the dry humping would have been the worst it could get
the
because what do
absolute
you mean? You're not
yeah.
doing those things.
Yeah, I get it. I get it.
So if
Yeah,
they've
I'm
gone
so
that
far,
far,
I'm
they're
like, that
way
would have
far
been the
gone.
last one. Yeah, they might as well just do it. So, anyway, so let's see here. I do have a couple more. Okay, was that the first one? Yeah, that was the first one. So here's the second one. Oh God, the backdoor loophole. I think we get that one. I think without me having to read it, that we know. Yeah. We also probably understand the whole oral sex. It's technically forbidden, but a lot of people
Oh, it
say that that's
actually
what
in
they
the
do.
80s, it was taught that even married people. And
Yeah.
then in the late 90s, that was kind of changed a little.
Uh-huh. So number 7 is getting engaged first, since we're getting married anyway. So
Mm.
they're saying that engagement is used as a spiritual hall pass, sometimes within hours of deciding to seal the deal.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Marrying fast. Some Mormon couples marry at lightning speed just to be able to have sex with a clear conscience. Clear conscience. I can't talk, but uh yeah, I think I would just get married. Which I was never one that, like, wanted a great big wedding or anything, so, hurrying along the wedding would not have, you know if I was Mormon, that wouldn't be like a big deal to me. Whoops, that's not what I'm trying to
Well, think
do.
about it. If you do
Okay.
something you shouldn't do, remember there's two of you
Mhm.
there. Even if you don't say anything, he could feel guilty
Yeah.
later and go to his bishop. And then, even though you might have moved and been in a
Yeah.
whole new place, your bishop gets called in on it. And you can be something from 2 or 3 years ago, be
Oh,
disciplined for.
wow. It's just like in Scientology how they narc on each other, and write those,
Hmm.
what do you call knowledge reports and stuff. So,
Repent and repeat.
yeah, repent and repeat. Some break the rules, confess, repent, then do it again. The cycle of guilt and grace can
Yeah,
begin
that was
or
mine.
become its own ritual. Yeah.
Get disfellowshipped.
S
Don't take tithing for
number
6 months.
Yeah, number 10 is we didn't finish.
Mhm.
Some believe it didn't really happen. So, they say church leaders would definitely just disagree. So that and it does say that these are not official LDS beliefs or sanctioned behaviors, but they are part of the lived reality of many young Mormons trying to balance intense purity teachings with normal human hormones. Often these loopholes cause shame, secrecy, and confusion. Wow. And for ex Mormons, there's sometimes darkly funny ways to cope with what felt like impossible expectations. So, yeah, I can definitely understand that. So then next on here is whoops, that's not what I was trying to do. We just have a couple more actually. Is here it is. Speaking out. So it says, now I'm not the only one saying this, but here's what ex Mormon, their own words. So these are quotes from ex Mormons. I was raised in a church that was more offended by coffee than racism. And it says, leaving wasn't a weakness. It was the bravest thing I ever did. Wow. Both of those are big. Why would you, why would you be if you didn't have to be who the church told you to be? Wow.
Mhm.
The prophet speaks. The thinking has been done. Wow.
Yep.
Y'all, that's a red flag if I've ever seen one, is what it says. So, yeah, that is,
Now, who would you be if you
yeah,
have to
if you
be?
weren't told. Yeah.
I wouldn't have ever been married or had kids because I would have been able to know that I was asexual. And all of that was a gift I gave to the men in my life. What
Mhm.
would my life have been if I had been selfish enough to put me first and not God?
Yeah.
Because it
Yeah.
was just everything I had, I gave to something other than me. But yet I thought I was generous and kind and loving. And it's like,
Mhm.
I was kind of cozy. Now I'm being generous, kind, and loving to
Yeah.
myself first, so I
Yeah.
can learn how to do it in a less culty way. You know, to
Yeah,
meet people,
absolutely.
everything was how to invite them to church or give them a Book of Mormon. Everything you learn
Mhm.
how to profile people quickly to
Wow.
establish those goals. So you didn't really create relationships. They always
Yeah.
had different strings attached and time limits. Because if they weren't producing, I'd have to cut them loose because I can't
Oh,
have that kind of
wow.
influence in my life, even as an
Uh-huh.
adult. And so
That
this
makes
is
that's
interesting.
crazy. Yeah. It says, but okay, but is it a cult? It says, "Look, I'm not saying it's a cult, but if it walks like a cult, micromanages your underwear and makes you pay to get into heaven, it's worth a conversation. Let's line it up with classic cult behavior, shall we? Charismatic leader. Yep. Joseph Smith, golden plates and the 30 plus wives. We're the only true church, big cult energy, shunning. Plenty of ex members lose family and community overnight. Info control. You're told not to read anti Mormon stuff or listen to ex members. Thought stopping phrases. Ever hear doubt your doubts? That's cult. That's cult for shut up and obey. Strict behavior and gender control. Absolutely. So, no, you don't need a Kool Aid chalice to qualify. Sometimes the manipulation is subtle, but it is still there. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. It's a lot to think about, really. Because I never really, I mean, I'm just learning that a lot of these other religions that I always considered just, normal religions, like, I thought, well, there's Baptist, there's Lutheran, there's, whatever, Church of God, blah, blah,
Yeah.
blah. There's Mormons, there's Jehovah Witness. I just always thought of them as that. I didn't realize that so many of these religions actually had so many culty things about them, and that other people considered them cults. And some people even some people consider all religions cults, which they can all be a little culty. And you know, and certain ones, like, maybe not every Baptist church is culty, but this specific one can be culty, or this, specific whatever Church of God can be culty or whatever. So I just think it's really interesting. So now I think I'm going to go to the starred comments and let's see what the chat has had to say. So David says, "Do cults have covalent bonds?" Is that how I'm supposed to read? Hold on. Why is that not? Okay, there we go. So I don't know
Covenant
what that is.
bonds?
Maybe covenant bonds,
It
maybe.
depends on, yeah, I mean, most of them, yeah, you're making, they could call it a promise, an oath, covenant.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think most of
Yeah.
them do have some kind of
Okay. Yeah, I think so
things that
too.
they do.
I
Even Nexium, all the ones I've heard of, there is a
yeah.
kind of
Yeah, there
bond
is.
that's created. You have to promise
Absolutely.
something for something.
Yeah. So so John, are you going to put these up or am I? Cuz just point, you or me. You? Yeah, you can put them up if you want. I just don't want to be doing it. So
Yes,
Jedi Mormon says, "I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." Well, welcome.
yes.
I
And
I
I have
understand this is
one
probably not
comment.
a
No,
not
I
a
have one
comfortable
comment to
comment
say
for
to
her.
that. I was
Uh-huh.
raised in the 70s. They spent
Uh-huh.
millions of dollars on the I Am a Mormon campaign. And it was only a
Uh-huh.
few years ago the prophet said, "Oh no, don't like the word Mormon. You can't use it anymore. So you have to use the full name of the church. No more
Wow.
Mormon." So I appreciate him saying, "It's a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. But you know what? I am a Mormon, always have been, and always will be, and currently am a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints." Also,
Yeah. So Jedi Mormon says, "Mayor,
yes.
Mormons are all over the place and you can always leave Mormonism, but it's hard to leave Scientology." It is, but I think it's hard to
Mormons
leave
track you. They
any.
have a whole system of tracking you. I can't move anywhere in
Yeah.
the world without them knowing where I am and sending someone to my home or calling me or
Wow.
emailing me. So, no, it is just like Scientology. Let me
Yeah.
tell you, I have proof.
Try to
I can
leave and
show you
see.
it
Yeah.
is exactly the same.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hey, Gene,
So
Latter Daily Digest.
yeah.
He's awesome.
David says the irony that Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints don't believe Jesus is God.
Yes, they believe Jesus is God. They just don't believe in the Trinity. They believe the Godhead. They're three in one purpose. They're three separate individuals. They're not one God.
Uh-huh.
So yes, Jesus is
Oh,
God,
so they
but God in
yeah.
purpose, not in not the same thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So it's kind of a 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
It's
They
language, it's
do,
that
but they yeah.
verbiage. It's the
Yeah, it's the
reason
verbiage
people
of it.
don't think Mormons are Christian because they don't do the Nicene Creed. There's different
Yeah.
things that I didn't know about because I always thought I was Christian,
Yeah.
but I've learned that that's a broad definition.
Yeah, it is. It is. It says, "Oh, but Jesus is God of the Old Testament according to Mormon doctrine and Mormon dogma." That's Jedi Mormon.
Yep.
Yeah. I think this is very interesting. I think it would have been interesting. We'll have to have if Jedi
Oh,
Mormon wants to come on sometime, we could have him come on and or she. I don't know if
oh
it's a she or
yeah.
a he, but it would
Everybody
be
has
interesting to
interesting
have
life
somebody.
experiences with it.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely, and I'm not trying to dog anybody's religion.
mm-mm,
I'm just saying that this is, we really need to
no,
look into some of this because it is a little culty. So, Mysterious Mayo says, "I don't care what people want to worship or believe in. Worship the cats and the birds as long as they don't hurt children and women and treat everyone with respect." I'm kinda with you. I am. I'm kinda with you.
I think
I
it's a
believe
hard
that.
thing to do though.
Yeah, it is. It really is. Says Heather Griffin says, "Hello from New Zealand. The church I belong to is between you and God, and we can mix with anybody. Only thing is there is no alcohol, smoking, drugs, or gambling. I'm SDA. I married outside the church." I don't know what SDA is.
SDA is Seventh Day Adventist,
Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah, yeah. I know what that
I have
is.
a
Duh.
friend who had left that.
Mhm.
Um, interesting story. Her husband tried to hit on me. She had
Oh,
died of
wow.
cancer, and he was telling me how he hadn't had sex 2 years before she died. It's been 2 years since she died. So I casually
Oh,
mentioned to him about the very specific diet that Ellen White, their founder, created that's supposed to reduce some of those sexual urges, and asked him if he's following his correct food plan. And so that was my only experience with them
ah,
was other, was her viewpoint of being in
yeah,
a mixed faith marriage. And so I learned a
yeah,
lot about amazing, and once again, amazing people, even,
yeah,
Seventh Day Adventists, just wonderful people I
yeah.
met. So
Oh, yeah.
it's
Oh, yeah.
cool.
Cool. So Jedi Mormon says President
Yes.
Nelson is 100 years old and he is the prophet. Wow, 100 years old.
And if I could have an
Wow.
audience with him, that would be entertaining because he's probably not mentally there.
Yeah, probably.
But he's the
So
prophet who's giving us our instructions.
Yeah. So Brian Lucas says, comment, I have a bit of experience with the LDS church. Best friends is a true belief. Some of my family are members. I joined while in boot camp, but I didn't like it. Right. But it didn't take. I'm sorry. I read that wrong, Brian.
Yep,
So
we're going to
yeah.
be hitting up me and Brian, and we're going to explore a little of his experience
Yeah, that'd be
because
cool too.
he's got amazing. He's led an amazing life, so
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting to
He
find
has.
that little connection.
Mm. So, Brian says, "Joel, it was an interesting experience, but it didn't feel right. So, yeah, not for me." Well, it's good that he could, though. I mean, it was good that he had enough about
Yeah,
himself that he was like, you know what? This is just not for me, even though family and stuff was.
but
Because
I
so
think
many
it's even
people, if their family does it, they'll just do it. It's just like they're doing it, I'll do it.
but it's even bigger than that. There are so many people that they're searching, they're
Mm-hmm.
looking, they're wanting things to improve something about their inner self or their life, and you're going to come across a little bit of everything. And
Mm-hmm.
so that's where I kind of place all of this is you're going to bounce into different things. And this is just
Yeah.
one of them that he bounced into.
Mhm. Jedi Mormon, in case you're interested, I did put the deal that's scrolling across the bottom that's got my email address. I would love to talk to you. I truly would. I
Mhm.
love to give both sides of every story, and I would, welcome you in, whatever your side of the story is, whether you're, full on happy where you're at, thinking maybe not, whatever. I'm not trying to tell you how to think or feel. I'm just saying if you're interested, then there is my email address scrolling across the bottom, and I would love to hear from you. So said Jedi says that women share the planet with their spouse. Yeah. Yeah. So I didn't know this. Joseph Smith was a 33-degree Freemason or 33rd degree Freemason. Wow.
Mhm.
I did not know that. So also says the Mormons use the money to build temples.
Yeah, let's go
Sounds
to
like there's
third
an
world
awful lot of
Texas and let's talk about temples.
it
That's all
looks
I
like
have
there'd
to
be an
say.
awful lot of
Yes, there
money,
are.
like, just sitting
And let's
around, you know?
we can talk about a church being a bully and bullying small towns. One that's only 11,000 to build a temple that's too big for whatever, and they're threatening legal action. Yes, this is the amazing church doing this.
Mm.
So
Jedi
they
says
could
there are
build it
16.
elsewhere. They have options.
Yeah. Jedi says there are 16 temples being built.
Yep,
So, wow, that just
lots in
sounds a lot like
Africa. They
Scientology.
have a lot
You know
more
how
in Africa going
Scientology
on.
Yeah, Scientology is constantly, building new churches and missions and just, orgs and whatever. Just all this stuff, but then there's nobody there. There might be 1 or 2 people or 5 or 6 people staffing it and that's it, and so
Well, the
that's
people
kinda reminds
allowed
me of
into the
that.
temple are a limited amount of the membership.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
is it
Yeah.
really necessary for this huge building when it's this
Yeah.
amount of people?
Yeah.
Granted, it's needed and warranted to do the ordinances, but is the
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
grandeur of the building what's warranted?
Yeah, I understand
Interesting
that.
concepts that are happening everywhere.
Mhm. And so Eileen Bradley says, "Why doesn't the Lord provide for the church then, and I'll keep my money?" Yeah, if the Lord's gonna
No,
provide to you, why doesn't he provide to the church? I get that. I mean, it's a way of looking at it. Oh, Jedi says that he would love I just looked over there, saw
but we
the
also
one.
know there's so many positive things that a lot of churches, even healthy
Mhm.
churches, do.
Yeah,
It's a
oh,
mixed
yeah.
bag.
Oh, yeah,
There's the membership.
we're actually having a live in the next few days that tells, like, the worst things that religion has ever done
Hmm.
versus the best things that and it's not talking about any one religion, it's not cutting down a religion, it's just facts. It's just the facts of what has happened in history, that these are the bad things that have happened and these are the great things, and I've had a good time, researching that one. I love to
And
research anything, and I love church, any kind of religious type
that'll be a
research,
fun one to watch.
and yeah, and especially that one that doesn't shame anybody or, like, slam any religion. This is just what happened in the name of religion, so I don't know, I think it'll be interesting. I can't remember what day it's on, but it is on my page, it tells so. So Brian says, comment, tithing, garments, etc. It's all just a way to gain control over you. I think so too. I just think it's awfully controlling. I don't know that I could do it. And yes,
I
Jedi,
quit.
I would love to come on.
Yay.
I can't wait. I will
Sweet. Oh,
absolutely get a hold of me, email me because I would love it. I would love
yeah.
to have you. And if
All
there's anybody
different points
else,
of
if there's
view are
anybody,
awesome. We
absolutely.
That's what I love about this community is there are so many open-minded people willing to
Yeah.
learn and explore. This nothing's out of a hatred or an anger.
No, no,
It's
no,
just
not
this
at
is the
all.
facts of my life, and if it's working for you, good, yay.
Yeah,
It works
absolutely.
for
It
a
works
lot of
for you.
men, for a
Mhm.
lot of women too.
So, anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I've got a little outro I'm going to read and then we'll be done for the night. We've
Oh,
went an hour and a half
sweet.
already. So, but I do want to have you back. So, I will be getting in touch with
Just
you
shoot
again.
a message, shoot an email.
I sure will. So, I just want to say bless your hearts everybody for hanging out with us and for I mean, seriously, for Jedi Mormon, I know this could not have necessarily been an
Oh,
easy one for you, but I hope
oh,
that you
good.
understand that we honestly are not coming at you with any kind of hate or ill will. We're just telling her side of the story, and now
And you
whenever
could
you
reach
come
out to
on, we
me
can.
also. I mean,
Yeah,
not a
absolutely.
problem. Um,
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I tend to get a little long-winded and then I kind of feel like I've just kind of repeated myself, but I try because I am genuinely interested in all sides of these religious beliefs and disbeliefs and, members and ex-members and the whole bit. I think it's so interesting. And so I'm just really excited about it. But anyway, so from sacred undies to sipping soda to the fine art of soaking, y'all, without sinning, we've covered and uncovered an awful lot. And if you would all do me the favor of hitting the like and subscribe, and if there's somebody you want to share this video with, feel free to share the video. I would love for you all to come back and leave comments in the comment section on the replay. That helps my algorithm put me out to more, people seeing my videos, and so that is just something that that helps me out more actually than super chats. So they don't charge me for that because they charge you for everything else. So don't forget to hit that like and subscribe. And this is going to be a little joke I wrote down. I don't know. If you ever find yourself needing a third person to bounce on the bed while you're not having sex, pass me on by, y'all. Pass me on by. But, if you are finding yourself with that need, you might be in a really creative religion or even a cult. We just don't know. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and go. Thank you so much, Kim. I'm going to go ahead and let you go too. I appreciate it. Thank you, John, for being in the back office. I'll let you go too. When I do this, I'm just going to leave the studio. So, thank you for everybody that's here, and I'll see you tomorrow. We will be back tomorrow with another great topic.
Hope you enjoyed the show, so glad you were here. We meet here most days, we're but first coffee and you're welcome here. We talk about hard subjects, but we also laugh a lot. If you have a loss or win, we will cheer for you. We're but first coffee and you are safe here. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe buttons, notifications set to all. You don't want to miss a show, because this is your home to y'all. So hit those like and subscribe